As we record this on Sunday, we played Wigan Athletic, a club I haven't heard of before this FA Cup round before. We won 4-0 in a pretty resounding first quarter of the match.
Yeah, that's kind of all there is to say about this one, to be honest. As I said earlier, shout out to the mid to late 2000, or early 2000s, early 2010s, Wigan Athletic. They have some history in this competition. This is, by the way, the only major trophy Wigan has ever won. Was the 2014 FA Cup, where they beat Manchester City. I'm sorry, it's 2013. 2013, they beat Manchester City. What's odd about that is about a week or so later, they lost to Arsenal in the league, which sealed their relegation to the championship.
Oh, wow.
Which we should also add, by the way, makes them the only club to win the FA Cup and be relegated in the same season.
And not even in the same season, like the same week.
It might not have been quite that close, but it was pretty
Wow.
close. It was not, that was a tough one. You could, for Wigan, that's got to be like that is about as amazing a season as you can have if you're Wigan, right? I mean, that's
wow.
Like that is, I think, the biggest, I think it's the only major trophy they've ever won as a club. No, yeah, the loss to Arsenal didn't come until mid-May, so it was about 2 months later.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that sealed their position in the bottom half of the table, bottom three in the table, and they have not been back since. In fact, had some financial difficulties. They spent some time. They've dropped from the Championship down to League One. They're currently sitting 21st in League One, which is a relegation position, and have already fired their manager twice this season. So, and if you look at their Wikipedia page and you look up who is their head coach, it's actually two guys. They list two names on there. Glenn Whelan and Graham Barrow. And they say interim. I don't know if they mean Barrow is the interim or they're both interims or poor Wigan. They are kind of a mess right now.
Yeah. Well, so we did roll out another interesting lineup against them. Some names that I didn't necessarily. We did get to see Norgard. We got to see Miles Lewis-Scully, Kepa, as we have been in the Cup competitions. Mascara again, as you mentioned. Overall, Jesus starting, not Gyökeres, but this is I guess this one is more like what I would expect to see at this level of competition, like in the FA Cup against a League One team.
Yeah, and I do think, Saliba played, which I think was as much about getting him a few minutes under his legs than anything else. Obviously, we've seen him Capier, but now you're rotating all your defenders. The real interesting thing to me is really the difference that came out when the lineup was announced, because when the lineup was announced, you didn't mention the name Ricardo Calafiori. He was set to start at right back or left back, and Miles Lewis-Scully was going to play in the midfield. Which is interesting because that is his actual position. We got a lot out of him last year as a left back, but he's a midfielder by training. And this is where we were going to see him in the midfield. And we've seen him at left back this season, and we've talked about the difficulties he's come up against and kind of the wall he's been running into in that second season as a top flight professional. So I was kind of excited to see Lewis-Scully in the midfield, and then it turns out ESPN drops out the lineup graphic, and Calafiori has been dropped. And they're sitting in the left back position, at least according to the lineup graphic, was Saka.
Yeah, sort of. And this is something that I did watch this one live with my dad on the phone. What was also weird with their lineup graphics on ESPN FC, as they're styling it now for their soccer coverage, they put the goalkeeper at the top, which is backwards from how we think of things. So like that would put all the left side players on the right side of the screen, which is kind of weird. Was that factoring in too, or no?
No, I think what it really was is all we got. So we should also add, by the way, what actually happened. Well, we don't really know what happened. Calafiore was hurt during warmups. He I don't know, felt something, saw something, and something happened to him. But anyway, he was a late scratch, and Saka was brought in. Now, I think in defense of ESPN, what I think they were doing here is, Calafiore is out and Saka's in. And then they didn't really have time to make a lot of adjustments to the graphic, and so they just plugged him in the same place.
Right.
Now, having said that, in practice, what we saw was Lewis Skelly not playing midfield, but going back to left back. And we saw Saka kind of in the middle, almost operating as kind of a central mid, almost in the Odegaard role is how I sort of felt he was trying to play. And that was interesting to me because now we look at our midfield as Eza, Saka, and Norgard. And one of the things I've suggested, I've heard a lot, it's not original to me, a lot of people sort of throwing the suggestion out there. What about playing Eza and Odegaard together? And then having Zubimendi or Rice as your defensive midfield, as your fulcrum kind of there in the middle. Now, the real response to that is, well, why would we want to take one of them off? They're two of our most important players. That's fair. But I wonder if some games that might be better. And so we almost got kind of, as I've been thinking about this, as we were talking through it, I wonder if we almost got a mild preview of what that might look like. Saka in the Odegaard role with Eza, Norgard playing the deep-lying defensive midfielder role. And with that forward line, Martinelli, Jesus, and Madueke up top. I don't want to overread too much into like how well it worked because Wigan was so clearly overmatched in this game. Like it's really hard to draw real substantive lessons from this game because like they weren't very good. We talked about the position they're in this season. Like they're not having a very good season. They've already fired their manager twice. They're not in good shape. And I mean, their Arsenal is just too good. Like it's just they're like 70 places behind us in the table in the English table. Yeah, I mean, this is what that would look like, and this is a game that was arguably over by within the first half hour.
Well, right. The scoring kicked off with a good run of form from Eza. So he made an amazing upfield pass, probably cleared at least 30, 40 yards to get it up to Madueke to finish that one. Nice finishing from him on that, reminiscent of the Brentford match, opening the scoring for Madueke. And then Eze did it again, not very long after, in under 10 minutes, where he got up to Martinelli for the second one. So, it was a strong performance, as strong a performance as we've seen almost from Eza there, with assists instead of actual goals. Like he had a brace earlier in the season, right?
No, he had the hat trick against Spurs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we've seen slightly better from him, but this is good,
Yeah, and one of the suggestions, again, I don't want to read too much into this particular game, but I've seen a suggestion as well that maybe he's a player, in order to be the best version of himself, maybe he needs to be receiving the ball in actually deeper positions, which give him an opportunity to kind of get his legs going and running with the ball, which is where he's potentially more dangerous. And you saw in both those cases, he's actually fairly deep when he receives it and finds these passes going forward. Obviously, Madueke, it helps as well, by the way, when, Wigan plays an offside trap all except for one guy who's like several yards behind, he's a couple yards behind the rest of them.
Right.
That helped too, but it's a nice trap from Eza from Madueke. It's a good finish, and the same thing. Martinelli gets a good finish there, and that's the kind of thing you want to see. The shot Madueke has, the shot Martinelli has, because as much as we look at this game and see 4-0 and how well we played overall, there were a few instances in that first half hour before we get the goal where it does feel like they're doing that thing where they take an extra touch when maybe they'd be better suited just cracking it at the goal. And then a couple of those times they do take a shot at goal and it's immediately blocked because there was a guy in their face. Okay, I get that. But I do think there's something like I saw elements here, even still in this game, of a team that still is worried about whether or not it will score. And it's not so much they're trying to score in a particular way, always trying to walk it in. But I do think they are. I do wonder if they're in position where they're overthinking it a little bit, and I saw a little bit of that today too, which I didn't love.
Yeah, the one time I can think of with that was Jesus. He was coming in from the right side of the box, and it was clear if he'd kicked it with his left foot, I'm sure he could have probably gotten it in, but he took like an extra touch to try and evade the defender who he'd already shaken. And squandered the opportunity. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. Now we say that, but again, Jesus, does get the nice finish for the fourth goal. And then really the third goal, we should also mention, honestly, our signing of the season, got him on a free. Owen goal, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah. It's it's not necessarily something that I love, but a goal's a goal. Who's to say that one wouldn't have found its way to an Arsenal player's foot had he intervened differently or not intervened at all? But yeah,
I mean, I have to say this is one that really, to me, fits in the more classic definition of an own goal. Like some of the ones we've seen this year have been I'm thinking of the one against Wolves where if the guy heads it into his own net, but if he doesn't, Jesus is there. Like that earlier in that game, same one, the keeper punches it into his own net, but that ball's probably going in anyway. This is one that ball that it's the defender heads it back in, and the poor keeper who I hate to laugh at a man's name, but his name was Tickle.
Yeah,
I thought didn't have a terrible game, but I mean, just you can almost see. You love the replay because you can see his face and slowly going, like try. You can see the moment when he panics and realizes how much trouble he's in. The super slow motion is fantastic sometimes.
He got a hand to it. Like it was a pretty
exactly.
good reaction. It was just from such close range. There's nothing he could have done. But
right, he did have a save on Eze. Was it Eze or was it Gyökeres late? It did have one or two good saves as well. But I mean, again, just a bit of a shooting gallery there. It was 4 goals in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, it was to the point where, as I said, I had my dad on the phone. We were talking while we were watching, and I was almost, I can't say it went all the way there, but I was almost annoyed because we were just like talking like, there's another goal. They keep on interrupting my conversation with these goals. Like I couldn't get a word in edgewise with these guys.
Well, you got plenty in after that, because I think at that point, and they showed the weather. I mean, my God, it was pouring. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I think everyone was kind of like, all right,
our work here is done.
Yeah. Wigan's not scoring 4 goals. This game is
any part of it like, look, we don't want to twist the knife anymore on these poor guys. Do you think that factors in?
At that level, I don't really think so. I mean, these are all top level professionals, including guys with some pretty ruthless and competitive streaks. Like you'll see videos sometimes of like, and it's professional athletes in general, but like they'll play video games, sometimes like a charity thing against some kid, and they're out there just pumping goals past this poor 7-year-old who doesn't care because they're getting to play video games with their idols, right? But like these guys are so ruthlessly competitive, like they can't not try to win. But at the same time, there is a bit of this, and the field. I think. I mean, you saw guys fell over a couple times on both teams. Guys were slipping around. The weather was terrible. It's 4-0. There's definitely. It definitely felt like after that goal, like, I mean, we're trying, but are we really? So much so that, I mean, we should mention. I think the other interesting thing about this game is the youth players. Marley Salmon came on for Saliba, which, okay, that wasn't terribly surprising. Only surprising in how early it was. He was on it for the last half hour, so that's fun for him.
Yeah.
Apparently, I think they said somewhere it's actually his home debut. He hasn't. All of his previous appearances have actually been away from the Emirates, so that's nice. That's a nice goal for him. And then Arteta threatened this. He told us years ago he would do it. He just might substitute a keeper in the middle of the game. And by golly, he did it today. Tommy Setford off the bench in the 87th minute. What a moment for everyone involved.
Yeah, and it was funny because at first I was wondering, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when he played last season when we had the like 18-year-old kid or whatever, but that was someone different. That isn't Tommy Setford. That was someone else, I think.
I remember that it was.
The guy I'm picturing was blonde. I don't think it was the same guy. I think we don't have that keeper on a roster anymore.
I mean, he was young. It could have been a bleach blonde. You know, could have been a conscious decision. But anyway,
we got to see Tommy Setford. There wasn't a lot for him to do, but Kepa got to take a few minutes off at the end.
Yeah, I have to say, at the moment, I almost wonder. I kind of wondered if you're Kepa, like, just how long does it take to sink in that you're being subbed off? Like, does he even pausing for a sub? Oh, okay. And like, you look over there, and obviously he's in the yellow keeper kit. And but like, at what point does it really register for you? Like, oh, I'm off. I'm being subbed.
It took a while for it to register for me. I was seeing the yellow shirt on the touchline. I was like, what?
Well, we actually picked up on them pretty quickly because we saw him get up. We're like, oh, it's happening! Yeah. The substitution is happening.
Let me ask you, from a technical point of view, does Kepa still get the clean sheet?
I don't believe so. I believe technically that's shared because they both played. So
it's not in the Premier League, so I don't know how much it matters.
Yeah,
because the Golden Boot is just for Premier League games. So
the Golden Gloves.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
yes,
both.
Yep.
Both.
Really. But we're talking about the gloves. Yep.
Right. Yeah. That is for That is for. It's a statistical note. But I believe it would be a shared one because of the substitution. I'll be honest, I don't know because goalkeeper subs are not a very common thing.
Right.
The only times I've ever seen them before have been for injuries and for cards. I've seen them when especially red cards. I've seen it. I could think. I mean, Jens Lehmann in the Champions League final is the first one that comes to mind.
Right.
But I think it was Pedro Galese of Orlando City got one in that bonkers playoff shootout with New York City a few years during the COVID season. That was a second yellow. But anyway, it's.
Yeah, it was actually one other thing that's kind of a funny mirror image between this week's two matches. Against Brentford, we had, I think, like 4 yellow cards in the first half and then a couple more sprinkled in the second half. We didn't get any yellow cards in this match until over 2 into the final third of the match. Then we got like 4 that were kind of sprinkled in there. And, that was kind of funny, the mirror image-ness of it.
Yeah, again, this is it's got to be a tough game to officiate when you reach that point where, like, again, the game is effectively over.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the lower levels, the game's a lot more physical, a lot more rugged. So it wouldn't be a surprise if things got a little physical. And there were a couple of moments in there where I think they let a few things go. There was probably a point where they were really just letting things go in the sense of like, look, just as long as you're not trying to hurt each other, let's just get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think everyone was in favor of at that point.